Yeah, I see already that Rada has turned off the recording button. You can see the little red dot in the right up corner. So this means this session will be recorded, and it's for me also the sign that I will start now. Welcome to our fourth edition of KumaTalks 2.0. Today it's all about digital mediation of art, its usage and perspective, and we have our guests Florian Wiencek and Adelijn van Huis. KumaTalks, what it is about. It's an initiative of the network of Robert Bosch cultural managers. The network of Robert Bosch cultural managers it is a fellowship program from the Robert Bosch Foundation, and enables young professionals from the field of culture to work with cultural organizations at host organizations abroad for 1 or 2 years. After coming back, we decided to initiate this platform to keep on talking also when we went back to our countries, and so this enables us also today to keep on discussing about topics of the field of culture and cultural management, even with today a lot of guests from the US. Welcome everyone from the US, especially because I'm very happy that we open up a new field of a group of interests. What will happen? The talk will last 1 hour. We try to be really harsh on time because our experience is that talking online is another feeling of concentration, so we really try to talk 1 hour. We will have 2 inputs of about 50 minutes and afterwards 20 to 30 minutes time of discussion. You can always post your questions and comments in the chat room. We have a co-moderator, which is today Radmila Joksimovic. She's from Serbia and she's also one of the initiator of this KumaTalks 2.0 project, and she will enable that all your comments and questions in the chat will be passed on to me, and so that I can pass them on to the speakers. Before we start, I also want to ask you, the chat participants, I've seen you, some of you already started it, to please introduce yourselves, to tell us who you are, where are you from, where do you work, and why are you interested in that specific topic. I think it's very useful to see also the background of the people participating in the chat, who unfortunately cannot participate in the spoken discussion, but then can participate via the chat in the discussion. Meanwhile, I also want to tell you a little bit about our today's topic and today's speaker. Today's topic is, as you all know, digital mediation of art, its usage and perspective. And this is why did we choose this topic? This is first of all to clarify what it is, because there are many different ideas and interpretations about what does it mean, digital art, and especially digital mediation, and especially in the focus of digital mediation of art. So I hope we will clarify a little bit what different forms that can include. Second of all, of course, the increased usage of communication tools in every day also opens up the question, what does it mean for the mediation of art? Do digital media and Web 2.0 applications provide new models of access and exchange about art, or are they just another media? Does it really change the content we are talking about and change the mediation of art, or is it just really another tool and everything can be done also with traditional media? We have 2 wonderful speakers. We have Florian Wiencek. He is currently a PhD fellow at the Jacobs University in Bremen in Germany, but at the moment as a visiting lecturer involved at the Department of Art History and Visual Studies at the Duke University in the US. His main research interest is our digital mediation of art, so he's really an expert for the topic we are talking about it. I can also add at this moment, he was the initiator, basically, though he does not know, but he was the initiator of this talk, because when I met him, we talked about his research focus, and I was so thrilled, and I thought that is a really interesting topic. I really would like to have a discussion about that specific topic here. So welcome, Florian. He will provide us a short overview about about today's topic, but also shortly introduce in one of his own projects. As a second speaker, I welcome Adelijn from Huis. She's a visual artist, art educator and researcher, and working for the Stedelijk Museum Amsterdam since 2004. As a researcher and as a script writer, she was involved in the Art Tours project, which is one of the pilot projects using augmented reality in the mediation of the collection of the museum of the Stedelijk Museum. So I think this is a very innovative pilot project, and focusing on really existing best practice examples. This is what we want to do now, and also from that best practice examples to open up a wider view on the topic. So this is all from me now. I'm really interested what is coming up now, and Florian, I'm very happy to hear what you're going to say now.
Yeah, thanks, Wiebke, and thanks for inviting me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak in this digital environment, which I think is really, the best place, I would say, to talk about a topic in digital mediation of art, as we are right now actually experience something on digital mediation. So what I'm going to do, as introduced, I will give a short overview of what I perceive is digital mediation of art, what different forms it can take. And I will start out with something on digital media. So what is digital media? What is digitality? And so if you look at the writings of Lev Manovich, he defines the digital in like a 1990s view, with like new technologies, new expressive and communicative possibilities, and new forms of community and sociality around the computer and the internet. But the very important point about this is that the new qualities of digital media are situated within the software, and software is basically what determines what we can do with digital media. And he defines in his book, The Language of New Media, 5 key principles of what new media is all about. So on the one hand, it's about numerical representation. So everything in digital media is basically data, and there with numerical information. It can be processed, it's free from physical constraints, it's computer readable, but it also needs to be interpreted or processed by software in a way that it becomes perceivable to human beings. Also, digital media is inherent modular. So digital media artifacts are in a way conglomerates of different modules which are brought into a new structure. Think of remix culture, think of embedding media into site, think of mashups, or creating new stories and meaning on the basis of available elements. And also another aspect of digital media is automation. So you can have automated analysis of media data due to its processability. And so this can provide a new view on the data. And also digital media is variable, so it's something that can evolve, so it doesn't exist just as a static item, but it can be in different, potentially infinite versions. And also another possibility of digital media is its transcoding, so you can basically have image data, sound data, transcoded into another medium, so image into sound, sound into image, and so forth. So the main question is really, how can you interact with the material? And a central point is, it's all about interface. The interface you can have with media, but you can have also with what you show, so with art, with culture. So let me talk a bit more about general ideas about digital mediation of art, or in general mediation, because mediation is about the in-between, between art, culture, and the audience. It's about interfaces. It's about how they interact with the art, or they allow to interact users or audience with the art. So so you have different aspects of that. So you can have something like display, thinking, discussion, learning about art with art. But the main question to ask is really, how do the interfaces and the digital interfaces to art and culture change with digital media? And I will provide some examples for these interconnected items. So display, discussion, learning, thinking. For me, it's all interconnected, and even more through digital media. So let's start with display. So digital media offers, in a way, new ways to present, to display, or to disseminate art and culture, and new modes of accessibility or access to art and culture. So one big trend, which is apparent right now, is that a lot of museums or a lot of institutions offer online collections, databases on art. So a database goes fundamentally beyond a traditional archive in a way that, if to quote again Lev Manovich, it allows quick access, sorting, reorganizing of millions of records. It can contain different media types. It assumes multiple indexing of data. And so basically what Fiona Cameron defines for online collections, it's about rethinking of collection of data and how it can be put in a more productive, interpretative way, how to make it active and how to do something with the data. And so the relationships between data are basically emphasized, and the context at meaning generation through new media practices. So you can have collaborative tools, collaborative annotation of media, of data, and creating new knowledge, new interpretative networks with tools like, for example, Scalar. And the database can be and has to be really a source for many stories. So we have new ways to tell stories about art. You have data-driven storytelling. You have something like rich interactive narratives, which I have presented on the slide as well. You have new exploratory interfaces. So especially databases are about exploring the data and bringing new meaning, but also through digital media and through software, you have a new agent in the mediation of data. Software and digital media devices play an important role and become a new agent beyond the human, beyond the institutions, beyond the artworks themselves. And you can also have something like augmented reality or locative media, where Adelijn will talk about later. So you have the possibility to bring the data and history back to its place, to tell a story inside a physical space or annotate a space, placing art and culture in new real spaces. And in the end, collapse temporalities, overlay a site or an object with references to the past, to a reproduction of the same object. And also you have something like virtual reality, which allows a remediation of physical spaces. What you see here represented is a reenactment of Wally Exports and Peter Weibel's Tap and Test Kino in Second Life, which was done by Eva and Franco Mattes in 2007. And so this all opens up new possibilities, along with social media as a large aggregator and display for cultural data, which offers another big challenge, namely big data. You can have so much data, you can't make sense of it as a human being, so you need computation to really make sense of that data. If it comes to thinking, it's important to notice that the value of digital media, of digital humanities, lies really in the process of creation, of doing something with the data. So if you, for example, building a reconstruction of an historical site, or reconstruct an installation space, you have to take concrete decisions in the process of building, in the process of creation, which opens up new questions, because you think about it in a different way. You have a different way to look at it. It's really about the activation of archive material. So if you look at, for example, the Rijksmuseum, that they have now opened up their archive for basically engaging with the material, remixing the material. This is one indicator that this becomes more important. So digital media really gets a laboratory. And like I mentioned already, cultural analytics, so the processing, automated processing of data, of cultural data, also can give you new insights into the data. So digital media is really a tool through which you think, but which also shapes your thinking through letting us experience the art differently and makes new insights possible. Also, this of course has an impact on learning. So the idea of a network is taken to learning as well. So also through being networked, through Web 2.0 techniques, through digital media, education gets accessible and brings people from all over the world with different backgrounds and cultures together to learn together and discuss together, like we are together now from different continents, from different cultures in this digital space. But also one very, recently hyped idea is the idea of the massive open online courses, which are inherently connectivist environments, as Pete Rohrabaugh and Jesse Stammel argued, and I saw a fabulous talk from them at Duke just 2 days ago. And if you look at what connectivism is, so it takes basically the idea of the network into education. So it's a network of information, of data. So knowledge is really a network you can traverse. So learning becomes pattern recognition in a way, and creating new knowledge becomes a traversal of networks and its nodes. So what also these massive open online courses do, they really create open environments. So learning is more an open process where the community can take the ownership of the learning process. So participation is really very, very important. And it's more about providing a structure where learning can take place, where you don't have a fixed outcome you want to reach yet, but it's really open to the community to shape this process. And so this brings me to the last point, which is the point of discussion, which I think becomes inherently important as we are in participative environments. And so I want to introduce one project I was recently working on, that's the digital mediation in the exhibition Eat, Pray, Weave. And so the exhibition basically is about pre-Columbian art, so specifically focusing on Peru as a country and the American Andes as a region, so which is present-day Peru, and showing different objects presented by that culture. But the main question of that exhibition, because the museum has a vast collection of this art which wasn't shown in a very long time, is what can you actually learn from such a diverse collection, and what can these objects actually say about this long gone culture, especially because this was not a written culture, but it was an oral culture. So the objects are the main source of the history, alongside with some books which were written by the colonial forces who conquered this region, and by some indigenous people who took up Western literacy to then write down their version of the story. So creating an environment where we integrate the visitors in the knowledge production about the objects is really rooted deeply inside this concept. And so basically the public and the curators are in the journey together. So there are a few theoretical accounts which for me in the conceptualization were very important. The one is the critical mediation of art. Carmen Mersch is one of the authors. And so the goal of critical mediation of art is more the production of new knowledge with the visitors instead of the reproduction of knowledge. So having more pull content than push content, and fostering the engagement of the visitor with the display, with the artworks and their own interpretation. And also the participatory museum, where Nina Simon wrote a brilliant book about, which is basically saying the participatory design is about the people. The museum space is more space for social experience, and a facilitator for meaningful interaction with the artistic projects and with other visitors. So basically, what we did was we were taking up the software called Flux Guide to create a multimedia guide which allows feedback, a feedback option, a comment option for the users about objects. So what Flux Guide wants to do is to transfer Web 2.0 paradigms into physical and cultural space of a museum. And so ideally, it offers the visitors a participative and personalized access to the exhibition. And it's not only about consuming curated information, but really leaving contents about or comments about exhibition items in the museum. So it's a feedback tool to formulate their own thoughts. And it's more, the focus is more on the relation of the visitors to the objects and really to foster their own interpretation as an active mental involvement into with the presented cultures and the objects, and also to engage with the questions this exhibition is offering. So what we basically did is we designed two challenges. So one challenge is on commenting on what is your favorite object, what stories do those objects tell you, and what does it remind you of in daily life? And the other challenge is about what remains from a culture, also thinking about what remains from our culture and how valid is it if you find some objects of material culture of today. What does it tell about your life? What do your clothes, for example, or whatever is in your pockets tell about your life? And that's besides offering other content like label texts or like comparisons between indigenous views and colonial views, some extra material on like on the illustrations or how were certain objects used. So that is basically what we were trying to do and really actively engage participants to create new meaning about the objects, which are hopefully leading to new insights. So that is my little input. Thanks a lot for having me. If you want to get in contact, I have my contact data up here. I'm on Twitter. I can be contacted via email. So I'm looking forward to what Adelijn has to say about that topic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you a lot, Florian, for this broad overview and also for the specific insight of your project.
Yes,
I think it was very interesting, and it left us with a lot of. We can hear you, Adelijn.
Can you
I'm
hear me?
just having 2 more seconds. I can hear you. Yeah,
can you
I can hear you. But yeah, I can hear you, but you can't hear me apparently.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, give me one second. I was about to say something, and then we will start your talk.
Okay, sorry.
So just some notes, some keynotes are made that will stay in our mind, and that will also probably come up again when we are talking to Adelijn from Huis. Talk, it's open access, it's participation, and very important, it's interactivity. So I want also now, I assume as me as well, we have a lot of questions to Florian, so please already post them in the chat. We will gather them, we will collect them, and so we will open up the discussion right after the talk of Adelijn with your questions. So Adelijn, please start with your input.
Thank you. Okay. I have a bit of difficulty hearing you, but I'll start anyway. It's I guess you hear me, so that's the most important at the moment. I'm going to talk about the Archival project of the Stedelijk Museum. Okay. I work as a freelancer for the Stedelijk Museum. I work as an art educator for them and also as a researcher. And as a researcher and scriptwriter, I was connected to this project, and I decided to tell a little bit about the story, the history of the project. Even kijken, the next slide. Yeah. Well, the Artus project started in, I guess it was 2008, as a collaboration. No, it's later, 2010. But it started as a I don't know the year anymore. But it started as a collaboration between two partners, the Stedelijk Museum, the head department of research and collections, and Fabriek, which is a leading design company in Holland. They do, among others, new media design, but they also do lots of other things. But they got together and wrote a proposal, and it resulted in the Artus project. And they got a big grant from the government to make an innovative project. Well, I don't know if all of you know what AR is, augmented reality. Probably the most known example is working with QR codes. You can see one here in the screen. You point with your mobile phone on the QR code, and you can see in your phone an image that is not in reality visible, but you can see it in your phone. And in that sense, you're augmenting the reality you see before you. Well, here you see a magazine, Linda, it's a Dutch magazine about one woman. It appears every month and it has different themes, but they use the QR code to show film or audio or other nice information. Well, the Stedelijk Museum started with the Artus project when it was closed. I don't know if you know, but the Stedelijk Museum recently reopened in September. But we have been closed for many, many years, and that's also the context in which the Artus project was launched. The collection was not visible, so a primary goal was to show the design collection to the public outside the walls of the museum. Right now, the Stedelijk looks like this. We have our, in Dutch you say badkuip, it's a bathtub, that's the nickname, and everything is on display. So it's a different situation now. The project is not yet finished. We're in the phase of concluding one of the big parts of it. And I'm going to talk you through the different experiments that we did and show you what's going to be the result in the end. Initially the idea was, with the design tour, to augment the city of Amsterdam with stories and design from the invisible collection of the Stedelijk. I was attracted to the project from the beginning, since there was a do-it-yourself part to it. The idea was that the Stedelijk Museum would upload content, but at the same time, people would be able to upload their own content into the design tour. This, unfortunately, this part of the project was technically too complicated, so it didn't make it in the end. That's what Florian was talking about in his the project he talked about within the exhibition, asking people to upload their interpretations and information. Here that didn't happen, unfortunately, but maybe we can learn from your project, Florian. Well, there were two goals: to show, on the one hand, the design collection of the Stedelijk Museum, which is a very big and very good collection, but not so many people know it. And on the other hand, an important goal was to innovate technically in collaboration with design partners. The technique which was primarily used from the beginning was Layer. And Layer is a company, and they developed augmented reality. And at the start of the project, the prospects were great. The idea was that the Layer would develop and that augmented reality would in short time would be really common. You can see here in the picture the Huis slaapkamer. It's an interior designed by Rietveld, one of the style designers. We have this, it's a picture of a bedroom. The bedroom is in the collection of the Stedelijk Museum, but was originally designed for a private home in Amsterdam. So the idea was, among others, to show this bedroom in the original building in augmented reality. So if you would be in front of the home and look through your phone, you would be able to see this, this bedroom. Well, so that was the big plan, the design tour. In the meanwhile, various smaller playful experiments were done, working on this bigger project. And I'll show you some images in a few moments, but I put them up here in this slide. There were several successful collaborations with artists, among them Sander Veenhoff. Florian, you showed a slide in which I saw a project of Sander Veenhoff in the MoMA. So that's one part. There were interaction with media students that experimented with AR. Then we made an archival tour. That's where I came into the project. A reconstruction of the famous exhibition Oplossen Schroeven was made, based on archival documents, images and written text alike. And then there was also a workshop for high school students, designing an augmented reality tour for peers. Something that might be possible in the future to make an AR tour for visitors. This was they made a plan. It wasn't realized because, again, the technique is not really ready for easy way of dealing with it. This is a project by Sander Veenhoff. The idea was, this is at a big musical festival in Holland, Lowlands it's called. It's a rock festival, and Stedelijk Museum had a counter there. You can see it here. Artotech, you could borrow art pieces from the collection of the Stedelijk. You see here a Karel Appel, and you could borrow it virtually. So you paid a little amount of money, and then you could hang this art piece anywhere you liked, above your tent, for example. So you had your own private piece from the Stedelijk Museum, and you could enjoy it there. Here is a picture missing. I'll show you this picture. Yeah. This is a tour that was made by Jan Rothuizen. It was inside the Stedelijk Museum. The other experiment at Lowlands was at the festival terrain. This is inside the Stedelijk Museum that in 2010 reopened temporarily. So the bathtub was not yet finished, but the old building was renovated and ready for showing art in it. And Jan Rothuizen was invited to make virtual drawings. He's a drawing artist, and he draws his own perception of spaces, of locations, and he stayed the night at the Stedelijk Museum on his own, and he drew from that experience and also from his experience as a child visiting the Stedelijk Museum. The palm tree you see here has been was in the past in the Stedelijk Museum. So the first director after the Second World War, Sandberg, he put a lot of plants in the museum, and among them was a palm tree. So he, in a way, made an homage to this palm tree. So if you would use your phone and walk through the museum, you would see several drawings in different spaces. This is the media, students and public looking at AR products shown at the Museumplein, which is next to the Stedelijk Museum. This is 2 images of the Archival Tour that I wrote and researched. The images you see is all original images from the Stedelijk Museum. So the exhibitions were usually very, very well documented. A lot of photographs are in the archive of the Stedelijk Museum. And there's also film material that's not from the Stedelijk itself, but we have the archive of image and beeld en geluid, image and sound. They keep all television programs that have been made in the past. They are keeping it together, and you can buy fragments from them. So we found out which ones are related to the exhibition, and if you would do would walk through the reconstruction of the exhibition, you could also see some films. Interestingly, this archival tour is more of a multimedia tour than an art tour. So augmented reality is something which is a layer on top of reality, and this tour gives you information on this exhibition related to the spaces, to the gallery spaces that were used in the past. But in a strict sense, it's not augmented reality as you would say with the QR code. I don't know, I mean, in the discussion on digital media, this is maybe not really interesting, but in this project, the augmented reality project, Art Tours project, this was something we stumbled upon it, that we chose for the technique of augmented reality, of layer, and it has it has borders, it has opportunities, but it is also a barrier. I mean, it's also I can't find the English word. It's limited as well. And in this archival tour, we actually stepped out of the limitations of AR. Well, here you see high school students who are doing this Jan Rothuizen tour. You just saw the palm tree. They're looking at drawings by Jan Rothuizen to get inspiration for their own AR tour that they're going to design. It's nice to notice that these young people are very easy in using smartphones, and they're happy to look through the phone and look together, and it's a social moment, and they really enjoy it. So that's an interesting thing we found out, that through this AR technique, but also by using mobile phones, teenagers and young people are more easily attracted. Well, since layer was still a bit difficult to use, image recognition it's a dream that everyone has. You point your phone at something, and then your phone recognizes the image, and you get the information that's connected to the image. It's still difficult. It's still GPS based, and inside the museum, GPS based way of working is difficult. But I asked the students to make their own comment on art pieces in real augmented life. So it was kind of AR, but not really. But the solutions or the things they made were great. I think it's really beautiful because they used image and language. You could very well see how they were looking at the art pieces, and there also came a connection between AR and my other love, you can say, looking at art. Something really special happened there in the workshop. So they asked here, why apples? It's a very big Matisse you see in the background, and they ask about the art piece. Why is Matisse using apples? Well, I don't know how I'm in the time, but I'm at the conclusions now. I put together some of the conclusions. There's a lot of conclusions to be made from this very big project. But one has to do with new groups, connecting to different people than the normal public. Through AR, the Stedelijk connected to a creative class of media designers by working with new technology. So this art tour project was really innovative, and a lot of people from the field of digital design were interested. I have to say, that's also, in the beginning they were very interested, and at the moment I think they might be laughing at us because it takes a long time to finish the project. So it has two sides. The second group is the teenagers I talked about earlier. They like this new technology. It's very easy for them to deal with a smartphone, and they like to get information through this personal device. Artists find interesting ways of using AR in art production. It's a medium and it has possibilities. And for artists, they explore the possibilities and make meaning within them. So that's one conclusion. On the other hand, smartphones, but that's actually, if you're a museum and want to use AR, you have a different position. So in a way, the Stedelijk gave assignments to artists to make art tours. But then what kind of content do you want to mediate as a Stedelijk museum? It might be, it is art in the first place, but then on the other hand, you want also to mediate maybe information or invite people to add their own information. That's actually the last point. What content suits the visual language of AR? But in between point is also interesting that smartphones provide the possibility of in-between information. So people don't have to be in the museum at the spot of the art piece to get the information. They can also connect to it at home or on the way home. And for the Stedelijk Museum, I think the learning of the whole project is that focusing on one technical medium, AR, is in the end not the most interesting thing to do. So AR tours turn into multimedia tours with AR components. And here is images of the app, which is going to be launched in 2013. And you can see there are several tours inside this whole app on design, but also this Jan Rothuizen tour. You can see a portrait in the image. This is the tour of Jan Rothuizen, so it's going to be a much more mixed product, also with other participants. So there's going to be a tour on design made by an external partner. So the AR project was from the Stedelijk Museum with Fabriek, but it broadened in the course of the project. Okay, this is my last slide.
Thank you, Adelijn. Yeah.
So
Thank you, the two of you, of the very interesting. Yeah.
maybe this one is nice to.
We have a delay.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I want to say is that this, for example.
But go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. This is the AR component that is still inside the tour. So highlights from the design collection are going to be shown in AR on the museum plan.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Shall I stop sharing?
Yeah, you can go stop sharing. I think what you have pointed out, both of you, is first of all that in digital media for mediation of art, there's a huge potential, and on the other hand, it's quite confusing of talking just of digital media because there's so many different formats. And as you have pointed it out in the end, Adelijn, multimedia, augmented reality, but just also websites, the function of comment, and it all basically requires different access to media, and it requires a different knowledge how to use it. And this also would be my first question to both of you. Besides the potentials that especially Florian pointed out, what it is all new and what it opened up for new access, how is it used? I mean, who is actually using it, and what does it require regarding knowledge and also regarding technical requirements? Maybe Florian, you want to comment?
Yeah.
on it first?
So for technical requirements, I mean, yeah. So the project we were doing at National Museum, basically, well, what we needed were 2 iPads to have it in the museum, and also because there are no players to lend at the museum right now, it requires, of course, for the users, if they don't want to use the iPads we provide, to bring their own smartphone or their own mobile device, which is, I think, on the one hand, mobile devices or smartphones are already relatively widespread in the US. Like, let's say at half of the population, the other half then has a problem if they don't, well, they can still use the iPads. But also production-wise, of course, we were using Flux Guide as a content management system in the background. So this is something you also either you have to develop something on your own or use software which is somewhere available and make it fit your needs, or the software actually constrains what you can do or what possibilities you have to mediate. But also, I mean, some of the difficulties in the end are also how do you get the interplay between physical and digital worlds working? So do you want to have an overlap, or do you want to sort of refer back and forth? Are you able to do that? How do you solve that? But also, I mean, a digital device can be a tool to go beyond like the physical structure and open up new spaces of exploration, which are more like it can react to the user more, but that requires actually software which allows that, or data structures which allow that. And also, I mean, the challenges are, of course, how do you get people to actually use it? And I think there is also a hurdle there. Yeah, you have to offer an incentive for people to actually take up using, especially something like a common feature. Why do they actually share, or why should they share their thoughts? And so you have to really integrate the digital tool in the overall experience very, very centrally. So it's an essential part of the experience. If you only have it as an add-on, you can use it but don't have to use it. I think it's difficult to make a point why you actually should use it. So if it really enhances what you can do in that space and give an incentive, for example, visibility in social media, if you couple the comments with social media, with Twitter, with Facebook, and with the social media strategy of the museum, I think that is something important to do to give people really an incentive and get it into their routines. Look how people actually interact with the space.
Yeah, and Adelijn, you also have the experience that an incentive is necessary.
I have a question. Well, I'm actually very interested in visitor interpretation, and that's what I do when I work live with people. That's mostly about how they look at art and how they experience it. But I don't have the experience doing that in a digital surrounding. So I'm very interested in the project that Florian did, and I have a question. How did it work? And what happened with the content that the people uploaded?
So until now, if I look at how many comments we get, it's not really heavy traffic. There are not a lot of people actually commenting, and so this is I think really a hurdle. That's why I said you have to integrate it more, and this is what on the one hand we offer it, and I think a lot of people look at the multimedia guide in the museum, but then the next hurdle is to really comment, and I think that's a hurdle. A lot of people are either not too aware that it's possible because it's a relatively new feature inside the museum. On the other hand, also it requires giving something away from you, and that's also important, and that's what Nina Simon pointed out, and research shows there are different types of people who participate. So, and the creators who actually create content, or also people who comment on things are only a part. So you have to offer something for everybody. What you can do in this Flux Guide software, you can also really get into conversation and comment on other people's comments, which rarely happens. And also you could do something like and comment, like on Facebook. But also that happens rather than really commenting on other people's comments. So this is really a hurdle we still have to overcome, and we have to experiment with ways to get this going.
Talking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm working. Yeah. I'm at the moment in a masterclass thinking about this.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. At the moment I'm in a masterclass at the Van Abbe Museum, and it's exactly about this. They want to how do you invite people to comment, or how to enrich the collection with their interpretation and meaning. But it's in a different way. We noticed with this archival tour, for example, people need to know it's there. So you need, but that's with your project. I guess it's not so much the problem. You would announce it when you go into the exhibition. But with the art tours, you need really to have a marketing for this product. Otherwise, people won't notice it. They come to the museum to look at art or design, and this tour is not. These tours, it's not in their system.
And talking about comments, I want to I want to read out loud the comments that has been posted in the chat room in the meanwhile. There's a comment from Teresa. I've waited long to visit Still Lake, and I was not disappointed. So congratulations, Adelijn. That's a comment, a very nice comment. Another comment from Dennis Scher. Innovative as these projects are, I already feel a sense that they are necessary, should be existing for many museums and galleries. So that might lead towards a new trend in exhibition and museums and galleries. Yeah. And then there's a question by Radmila. It goes to Adelijn. It is a great opportunity to use the collection which is mostly invisible most of the time. My question is, what are the potentials for additional interpretation of exhibitions in cooperation with curators, and would that be attractive to the audience? So I pass this question on to Adelijn.
I think it. I think it's a very relevant question, I would be very interested in multi-layered interpretations, so in multivocal interpretations. But at the same time, Admila writes in cooperation with curators. I don't know. On the one hand, I think people, it would be interesting to hear more voices. On the other hand, I noticed that the public also wants the story. So there is a want for the voice of authority. So what does the museum think? Or on the other hand, I think to have a meaningful interaction with art pieces, you need to make your own space and to develop your own way of looking. And in that sense, I think different interpretations of art pieces and different interpretations of exhibitions could open up a space for people to look in their own way. But I think it's a terrain to research, because I don't have the answer.
Yeah. I think there's a.
Is this an answer to the question?
Radmila, is this an answer to your question? Yeah. But I think we have, in any way, we have to consider everything what is going on in this field of digital mediation of art and augmented reality as pilot projects that are still testing the possibilities and the potentials. And so also this question, who has access, who is included and who is excluded within this process, is to be answered in the future, because these are still first experiences. And so I'm very happy also that you have the exchange here, and also all the guests that we have the exchange. I want to, we are almost about to finish now, but I want also to ask the chat participants, please ask your last question so I can pass them on to the to the speakers. But meanwhile, I have a question that for me personally is very striking. And it's actually the question, what is good and what is bad for digital mediation of art? I mean, how to apply quality to these projects. It's not all about the technology and using the technology, but it's more about the content. And what for you, maybe both of you a short answer, what does it make a quality project using digital media?
Yeah,
Florian,
okay.
maybe you want to start?
That's a good question. What is quality in digital media? Or I mean, on the one hand, quality is also lies in the quality of interaction. Is there a relatively low barrier to actually experience it, or to make it able to experience that project? On the other hand, definitely content does matter a lot, and I think especially in a museum space, it is important to offer additional content to what you have already in the space, to augment the space. If you're using digital technology to really use it to its strength, I'm always for using digital media to its strength. And then a third quality, I mean, of course, if it works out, that's always good. If you actually reach your goal, and I think that's always in the design process. You set a goal, you want people to participate. If that really happens, that's definitely also a quality measure for me.
Thank you, Florian. Adelijn, I saw you had problems in hearing my question.
Okay.
I wrote it. So how to apply quality to the projects?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, sound problems.
Yes. Yeah, it's I think it's a very important question. I think the Artus project got lost somewhere because of this confusion. Because you still need to really monitor what's your goal, what's the content suitable for your goal, and where do you want to go? And that's as relevant in old media as it is in new media. On the other hand, I think you should give yourself space to experiment and to find new qualities. I mean, yeah, that's what I think.
I think if
in content
Yeah.
and technology. I mean, both. The technology gives.
Yeah. I think this is very right what you're saying, Adeline. So now is the last chance to ask a question from the chat participants. And for me, what was really nice, Adeline, what you said, this example that you gave, where did I noted it, of why apples. So when you can see that basically the usage of media is reshaping also the mediation, the traditional mediation of art. And this habit of adding comments and then making these little notes, that was really, I really liked it. And I think in the end, this is also very important that of course, augmented reality or digital media is not a separated tool, but it also always have to be seen in as a whole. As we are also not talking about digital art, but of classical collections and classical traditional art. So I think on that point there's also huge potential when you look at what we can learn basically from digital media also to the traditional mediation of art. So I think there haven't been any new questions in the meanwhile. So I want to thank you very much, Florian and Adelijn. For me, it was very inspiring input. I really learned a lot. There was a lot of tools I haven't heard before, and I'm quite curious of using them on my own. And I think I have to pass by Amsterdam and have a look at the Stedelijk very soon. I think to the US, it's a bit far away at the moment. So thank you also very much to the chat participants. I'm very happy about the huge number of participants and about the active interaction while we were discussing. Thank you a lot. We will have the recording of this discussion afterwards on the website. You know, the website kuma-talks.eu. We also will upload the slides from Adelijn and from Florian. You can find them there and have a look at them afterwards. And then, of course, we want to encourage you, please send us your feedback, please send us your ideas and suggestions. So we always want to get better and to get closer also to what you think is necessary to make this a good format. For now, we go into a small winter break afterwards. We don't know when the next KumaTalks discussion will take place, but we're pretty sure there will be a next time, and this will be probably in spring in 2013. So also, if you already have new ideas of topics that you would like to discuss, of speakers you would like to recommend to us, please let us know. You can stay here in the chat, also add your ideas, comments and critical remarks here in the chat, or also send us a mail. Radmila has posted a note in the center where there's some informative notes from the talk and the discussion, and she can also add our email addresses so you can contact us directly if you have any comments. So this is now about to close the session. We will stay another 10 minutes online, monitor the chat, but we will turn out our microphones. But so my last words are again, Florian and Adelijn, thank you for being there. It was really nice discussion and talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
inviting.
So I turn out the sound now. Bye.